Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's the flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the only football podcast tonight. Kyle and I are going to be talking Brock Purdy and his massive contract that he just got. The NFL schedule is obviously out and about. Kyle and I are going to go through the schedule, Broncos and Bears, of course. We're going to talk about some revisions being done to the Tush Push ban. We'll see if it does get banned or what these revisions are about. And of course, we're going to end it all off with the chives with Kyle. Let's get it. America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
This is a moment in time. I don't give a damn.
Oh my god.
No!
You loved it.
It's 30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs
No!
win 30 to 20.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the only football podcast. I'm Kyle, and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And the NFL 2025 season is upon us. It always feels real when the draft is over, but once the schedule is out and you can start planning which games you can attend, and you're starting to make those arrangements. You're looking at hotels in February if you're a Broncos fan around Santa Clara, maybe. You are.
Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, the optimism is there because we're all undefeated. We have not lost a game, all of us, all 32 teams. And usually when the schedule gets dropped, the first thing I'm looking at, are the Broncos playing anywhere near me so I can go visit them? Which in Washington, it was like, are they playing the Seahawks or am I not going to a Broncos game? But what's awesome about Tennessee is you're in the middle of the country where it's like the Chiefs, the Saints, the Titans, the Bengals, the Colts, like all of these different games are drivable. And it's just opened up my whole world. I'm like, man, there's so many options. Like in South Florida, it was the same as Washington, where it's like you got the Dolphins and then that's it. Yeah. So I'm looking for that, and I'm looking to see how tough the schedule is going to be. I'm looking at the strength of schedule, and I'm right off the bat pretty okay. I mean, it's not the easiest schedule. I think for us, there's a pretty good stretch that's somewhat difficult coming, like September 21st, Chargers, then the Bengals on Monday night, then the Eagles. That's a pretty hard 3-game stretch. But I think opening the game up against the Titans in Denver, I think that's a dub right off the bat. And then you got Danny Dimes and the Colts at home week 2. I'm thinking they could easily start 2-0, and then that Chargers game, you could have a team that's 3-0 going into Monday Night Football against the Bengals, and I'm excited about how this looks, so we can maybe build some momentum off the bat. For the Bears, was there any game that stuck out to you? I'll tell you mine. It's the Eagles game.
Yeah.
The Broncos playing the Eagles, because you always want to play the Super Bowl champion.
Yep.
I mean, you get a chance to really measure yourself, and I like that this is not the first game of the year, but also we don't have to wait super long. So let's say Denver did beat the Bengals, all right? And you blink, and even though two of them were easy wins, let's say they beat the Chargers and the Bengals, all of a sudden you got a team that's 4-0 playing the Eagles. And that is one of those games that will change the way everybody thinks about the Broncos if they could win that game on the road. When you looked at your schedule, was there a certain game that kind of jumped at you?
The one that really sticks out to me, and it seems like we're playing the Commanders for like the 5th year in a row, and I think that's actually true. Week 6 in Washington, in the nation's capital, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Dan Quinn, Ben Johnson. It is going to be that game that is extremely important, right? You got Scary Terry and you got Debo on one side. You've got DJ Moore and you got Roma Dunze, Colson Loveland, who we just got, Cole Kmet. Like, there's weapons on each side. It's number 1 versus number 2. It is the fail Mary of last year that happened to the Bears. It is that game that you know, after the bye week, this is week 6. The Bears bye week is week 5. So after the bye week, those are 2 weeks that the Bears, and probably very specifically Caleb Williams, is looking forward to after the bye week. I've got 2 weeks to think about this game. We got 2 weeks to game plan against Jaden Daniels and the guys who beat us on a lack of defensive coverage last year.
Your bye week's week 4?
Week 5, and then we go into week 6 against the Commanders.
That's
I know.
Early.
I was kind of, me neither. Because it sort of happened last year as well, and I forget what bye week it was, but I know it was somewhat early. I think it was after the Commanders game that we had the bye week for the Bears. But week 1 through 4 is Vikings, Lions, Cowboys, Raiders, right? If you're able to beat your 2 division rivals those opening 2 weeks, the Bears are already starting off on a good note, right? Then you go you're at home against the Cowboys, then you go to Las Vegas, and you're hoping you win both of those games. You could be 4-0 going into the bye. Then the bye happens, then you go against the Commanders. It's just like, man, that can kill like some momentum that you have, or it could, like I was saying earlier, it could prepare you quite a bit and possibly any early injuries that you may have going up against the Commanders, you know, going to the Capitol on Monday Night Football too. So they have more than 2 weeks to really game plan for this game, but it's like the bye week is so weird and so early that it could kind of hinder any sort of like, you know, momentum that the Bears have offensively, defensively, just as a team as a whole.
Yeah, and you also want that bye week to get healthy. I mean, I think the perfect bye week is like week 10, week 11.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
When do we have ours? Do you have that listed?
Let me see. Denver Broncos
3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Schedule 2025.
10, 11.
All right, it's coming up right now. Your bye week is going to be 12. Week 12. That's not bad.
Yeah. And I thought it was interesting that they didn't give us a bye coming off of our London game. I mean,
who do you guys play in London?
We played the Jets in London, And then
week 6.
we got a game 7 days later.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You guys have, so the Bears have week 5 bye, week 6 against the Commanders. Broncos have week 12 bye, going to week 13 against the Commanders as well. So we're both leaving our byes, going to the nation's capital to take on the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, in that stretch too, we got the Chiefs and then the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Raiders, who I think are going to be a little more tough.
They are, yeah,
And then
definitely.
the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I might go to that Packers-Broncos game.
That would be a good one. In Denver, too? That would be a good one.
I know. I'm already trying to get the family. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like both of our teams, there's just like a massive amount to be excited about.
Yeah.
I would say the only difference is we're going into year 3 with Sean.
Mm-hmm.
You're going into your rookie season with Ben Johnson. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you guys could have like Super Bowl aspirations, but like, how realistic is that? I feel like most Bear fans just want double-digit wins,
Mm-hmm.
a playoff berth, and a competitive playoff game.
That
sound, or is it like Super Bowl?
No, look, if the Bears go to the Super Bowl this year, fucking awesome. Exceed expectations that way if you want, right? Like, I don't think we're expecting that. I think we're expecting, like, similar to what you said, double-digit wins, at least 10 wins. And I'm looking through the schedule. Can I get 10 wins? Possibly, but the Bears have, I think, the second hardest schedule in the league, if not the second toughest away schedule, something like that. But yeah, you're right. Like, first year of Ben Johnson, second year of Caleb Williams. The defense is going to have somewhat of a new scheme under what's his face, our defensive coordinator. So it's really just, we're expecting 9 wins, 10 wins. Could we get to 11? That would be sick. Could we get into a playoff, at least a wild card? Yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting, especially after the really rocky start that Caleb Williams had last year with this offense and the coaching staff. And he still had a pretty damn good season by all measures, right? Like, terrible offense coordinator, head coach was fired, and along with the coordinator several weeks later, you got an interim head coach. You go on a 10-game losing streak last year. So it's like, by all things that happened, not a bad season by Caleb. You're expecting Ben Johnson to come in immediately, just restore that offense. And we're hoping, like you said, for at least 10 wins or at least 9 wins. I think we're just trying to get above 500 at this year. But I think expectations could be a little bit higher, and, you know, a wild card berth could be that thing that Bears fans, I myself, would be like, this was a successful season.
Would you rather win 8 games and Caleb Williams throw for over 4,000 passing yards, or win 10 games and Caleb Williams threw for 3,200 yards? That's a good one.
So win 8 games, 4,000 plus yards for Caleb,
4,500 yards for Caleb.
If I'm being honest, I'd rather the double-digit wins than Caleb having a statistically good season. But
I'm going with Caleb because
I'm going with the team. I got to go with the team. Like, does that mean, do the 10 wins mean like we're a wild card? Are we?
My thinking, if I were a Bears fan, I'd be like, all right, give me the 4,500 yards, because that means that Caleb made a huge step if he's slinging it like that. And even if it doesn't result in 10 wins, just knowing that, like, he's not, not that we're worried about it, but just that certainty that, like, this is a guy that can throw for, lead the NFL in passing yards.
Yeah.
That is, like, we'll take that.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. That would be awesome because the Bears had 5 wins last year. If you're telling me we're going to be 3 wins better and Caleb is an elite quarterback or one of the best quarterbacks this season, do 10 wins get us into the playoffs? And Caleb Williams had 3,200 plus yards or so. And the Bears are a playoff team with Caleb Williams improving under Ben Johnson's offense, given the wins. I think I'd rather take the possible playoffs in this scenario and the double-digit wins, knowing that we are 5 or more games better than last year under Ben Johnson. Because to me, that's what really matters, dude. Like, at the end of the day, like, Caleb Williams could have a Jameis season where he throws 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions, and like 4,000 yards, but the Bears are in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, that to me would be great.
Would you rather the Bears have a 10-win season, but Caleb gets benched mid-season and replaced, and whoever comes in for him just dominates, or Caleb has a good season, doesn't get benched, and you win 7 games?
I would want to see Caleb be better. Yes, I think I might go. I don't know, because he's like the number 1 pick. So there's like that. Because if we go to Bajent, our backup quarterback, and he just slings it and is amazing, it's like, what? Because then there's the problem. What do we do next year?
If Tyler Bajent.
I think so. It really, at the end of the day, it might be that. Like, somehow Bajent is better under Ben Johnson's system than Caleb Williams is. And honestly, fuck it. Let's go with Bajent. Let's ride the hot hand. Let's go into the playoffs. But I just want to see at least a 10-win at least a 9-win season. 10 wins would be ideal. But that the progression of Caleb Williams is just, it just continues. Like, if you're asking me what I truly want as a Bears fan this year, I want Caleb Williams to get close to 4,000 yards passing. I want Ben Johnson to have a above 500 season with the highest being a 10-11 win season. And I want the team to be in the hunt in the last 3 weeks of the NFL season for a playoff spot. Like, that's really, I think you ask a lot of Bears fans that's probably what they want as well. But now for the Broncos, you guys are coming off a playoff berth with a rookie quarterback, Bo Nix, going into his 2nd year, Sean Payton year 3, the defense being outstanding and seemingly getting better by drafting Barron. What are Broncos fans' expectations? If you could give us the pulse of Broncos Nation, not just Kyle, but Broncos Nation, what are like the expectations going into 2025 for the Denver Broncos?
It's for the additions that were made, the big 5, of course, Jahade Barron being our number 2 corner, to match with the defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, bringing in Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga into a defense that was 3rd in points allowed. Right there, those are 4 starters coming into our defense.
Yeah.
Keeping Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper on a rotation, Zach Allen, who is still just like brutally undervalued from a fan's point of view. He led the NFL in pressures, and he didn't even make it to the Pro Bowl. He did get an All-Pro.
Yeah.
Which
that's pretty good, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was arguably one of, if not the best in the league. So he had to be an All-Pro. It's just the fan voting for the Pro Bowl. He didn't get the votes. But he talked about this on a podcast with, who was it? It was like some guy, who was the first overall draft pick like 15 years ago as an offensive lineman?
Oh, Joe Thomas. Cleveland.
Not Joe Thomas. It was like 2007.
2007.
I think he had a brother that played in the NFL too.
First overall
I think the Dolphins drafted him.
That were tackles. You said 2007-ish?
Yeah.
Let's see here. 2007. Oh, no. Jake Long. 2008. Yeah.
So I think it's him. He has a podcast. And it's awesome. And he had Zach Allen on, and they talked for like an hour, and it was like probably one of the best podcasts I've seen in a while. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, I don't have cable. And I was like, this is just amazing. Like, he asked all the right questions.
Yeah.
And it was just, they had such a great rapport. I definitely recommend it. I'll comment the video underneath this when it's over. But I mean, that's another guy that's just a dog. Like, somebody that is so good at their position that is not receiving that national exposure yet. And I feel like we have a lot of that going on our defense. I mean, Nick Bonito was nobody, and next thing you know, it's week 12. He's third in Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
The guy had 2 pick sixes as an edge rusher. Like, I see this defense with a historical opportunity this year to be historically great. With that said, the offense is good too. I mean, Bo Nix was very, very good from week 10 to week 18. Something clicked in him, and he was throwing the ball. He had confidence. I wouldn't mind seeing him run more. Like, that used to be a really good part of his game that wasn't really advertised when he was a rookie. But seeing guys like Marvin Mims take that jump, I mean, that catch he had in the Bengals game that I went to, he had 2 major touchdowns. One was a 67-yard bomb, and the other one was with 12 seconds left on 4th and 1 in the end zone. And you saw Marvin Mims make this jump. You saw Troy Franklin start to play better. Cortland Sutton brings us to veteran presence. They drafted the wide receiver that Sean said reminded him of Michael Thomas, and the running back that they really like.
Yeah. You guys got a good one. I feel like your running game is going to go up another level with Omarion Hampton.
Yeah. Or RJ Harvey. But I'm really thinking, okay, what was Denver last year? That was a big kind of learning curve. Bo learning on, getting ready on the way, as we call it. I feel like this year he's going into it with all of that knowledge, all of that experience, and it's like we're starting hitting the ground running. This team knows it's not like the Bears where it's like we got to learn the head coach and we got to learn like how different players, their body language. There's so much that goes into one season together. And this is a team that travels, vacations together after this is a true family. And that's why Sean said in his last meeting, I owe it to you guys to draft locker room guys, because I don't want to risk jeopardizing what we have here, because it's special. And that's why we didn't, trade for George Pickens. And that's why, those certain players aren't on our team. That's why when you look at all the players we drafted, they're all like nominated for the equivalent of a Walter Payton Man of the Year. They're these guys that were freakishly athletic and were very, very, very intelligent. So everything Sean's building, it's part of the culture. Bo Nix in his second year, I'll say a conference championship is the standard.
Mm.
Denver should be the expectation is that they're going to win the division and they're going to go to a conference championship. Are they going to win it? I don't know. But the expectation is that they'll be there because they should be there. Every good quarterback that's young has a 4-year rookie window before you have to pay that quarterback. And we're in it right now. I think next year's the Super Bowl or bust year. This year's about making it to the conference championship. To play the Bears in the Super Bowl.
Sorry, you said next year the Bears and Denver Broncos are playing in the Super Bowl?
In the Super Bowl. Fate is going to have it.
We wouldn't even have for those of you guys watching right now, Kyle and I have had a theme the last 3 Super Bowls. That one would just be us in fucking head to toe Bears and Broncos gear. It would have zero theme other than our team is in the Super Bowl, and we would be at each other's fucking throats through the screen. Kyle, if that ever happened, if the Bears and the Broncos ever met in the Super Bowl, I think we would have to go to whatever destination the Super Bowl is being played at. Whether or not we get into the stadium and are able to buy tickets, we would have to stream it somehow with both of us there so we can get the winning side and then just the tragedy of the loser side. It would be intense, but it's great.
I've lost the Super Bowl and I've won a Super Bowl as a fan in the last 12 years. I've been to 2. I will say losing one hurt way worse than how good winning one felt.
Dude, I was sad as a kid in 2007 when the Bears lost it. I was a kid. And I was 15 years old when that happened. And I was
that's old enough.
Yeah, where that pain is just deep.
Yeah, and you wake up and you're just depressed.
Yeah, so I'm glad you got to win one. All I've known is pain.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny in a way, the way you are with your sports team as a child is it's this profound love that you never get back. There's an innocence that's gone forever. Part of it, I think, is just when you're a kid, it's all fresh and new. I don't know because I feel like as much as I just chose to be a Broncos fan, I don't know why that was why that worked so strongly for me because kids choose things all the time and it doesn't stick.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in get into BMX and a week later you're riding a skateboard, but for whatever reason, for me, it was so intense and I would just watch these DVDs I would get for Christmas about John Elway in the 80s and playing Cleveland Browns in the AFC Championship. And it was everything was Broncos. All I wanted was Broncos stuff, Broncos, everything. And it was my whole life just revolved around it. And in 2005, we played the Steelers and it was my first playoff game, as a fan. And Jake Plummer was our quarterback, and Jake the Snake Plummer with the porn stash.
Yep.
And we won that game. Champ Bailey had a 99-yard. He picked off Tom Brady and ran it 99 yards. Started walking, and then got hit, and the football fell out of his hands, and they ruled it a touchback for the Patriots. But we ended up winning that game. And I remember going to bed after that game, just staring at my ceiling with my eyes wide open. I can't believe it. We won that game. I didn't sleep that whole night. I was just and I don't know, I don't know if I could ever be that happy again. You
I
know,
know. Yeah.
something special about your childhood.
Yeah, just all the players too that you remember too. It's just it's insane now. But going back to the schedule, Eagles, Super Bowl reigning champs, they're opening the season on Thursday Night Football against the Cowboys. Now, it was rumored that it was going to be the Bears, and I like when it was rumored that, I don't know how I would have felt about Ben Johnson's first game being against the Super Bowl champs on Thursday Night Football to open the season. That would have been rough, but it's the Cowboys. It's another division rival. The Cowboys, you mentioned George Pickens earlier. He is now a Dallas Cowboy. Dak Prescott is starting the game, starting the season after going out in injury last year, and the Cowboys honestly just not looking great last year. Do you think this was like the right pick, or would you have wanted to see the Eagles take on somebody else? I personally, I like it, but I don't know. What about you?
No, I'm not a huge fan. A couple things. One, the Cowboys did not end last season with good momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Had they lost in the divisional round and won 13 games, and okay, sure.
Yeah.
But last year was an anomaly because week 1 featured 2 divisional games,
Mm-hmm.
which was crazy because our whole life, it was nothing but divisional games week 1 and week 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering how the NFL was going to, was that a one-time thing? Was that a sample? Or is this kind of the new thing? And I actually like it. And the reason is because I'll give you real quick 2 reasons. Number 1, division games are always going to be exciting, no matter what.
Yeah.
So why? I mean, that is like a token the NFL has in their pocket for viewership.
Mm-hmm.
Divisional games is a good thing for views,
especially when they're both good too.
Especially when they're both good. So why use a divisional game week 1? Week 1 is the exception. Everyone's going to watch it no matter what.
Yeah, that's the first game of the NFL. You know damn well we're going to watch that.
So I think the Broncos opening with the Titans, yes, do it then.
Mm-hmm.
Do it then. Do it week 1. That'll be the most exciting that game will ever be.
Yeah.
Week 1. Cowboys Eagles, it could be exciting at any time, but specifically for the season opener, take away everything I just said. That only applies to, our teams, everyone else that didn't win a Super Bowl. For the Super Bowl defending team, that is a whole different ballgame. The Eagles, they should have done the most exciting game on the schedule. So I'm going to pull up really quick. I have their opponents here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think, I'm not going to lie, Chiefs-Eagles, which is week 2, I think that would have been a better week 1 game.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Broncos and Eagles would be, because it's such a weird game. And it's also out of conference. I think that would be exciting because you got this young, hungry Broncos team that, by the way, every primetime game that they were put on last year was a success. It was a hit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Browns game, that was awesome. That was
a really good game, yeah.
And then the same thing with the Bengals game. So I feel like we can trust them enough to do that more than the Cowboys for where we're at right now.
I was going to say too, like, I know what you're saying. And the Cowboys, the Cowboys, while it's a division opponent, I honestly, and you could kind of like battle me back on this, but I would have preferred, if it's a division opponent, go either Commanders or even go Giants because of Abdul Carter being the number 3 or whatever overall pick right in this draft. Like, that would have been pretty damn exciting. And also the Giants have a problem at quarterback. They have too many quarterbacks. Are you going to go with Tyler Shaw, whatever his name, Russ, Jameis? Like, it's probably going to be Russ at the end of the day. But like, even that, I feel like is a little bit better than the what you kind of were talking about with the Dallas Cowboys. Like, yeah, they kind of ended the year off bad. Like George Pickens is cool, Dak Prescott's cool, CeeDee Lamb and Parsons, but like to get the Commanders who lost to them in the NFC Championship, or to get Abdul Carter, the one of the top 3-4 overall picks, against the Eagles and Jalen Hurts, trying to get to Jalen Hurts. Like, to me, that would have been a much better divisional matchup than the Cowboys. It's like Commanders, Giants, and then Cowboys, and they went with the Cowboys.
I feel like I agree with half. I agree that the Commanders would have been a better move here, just because they were really good last year, and then this division does seem that it's going to come down to those two teams.
Yeah.
I think the Lions, the Bills, the Packers, the Commanders, the Broncos, and the Chiefs would all have been better games. But I get the NFL wanting to squeeze the most juice out of this Cowboys game, because if the Cowboys aren't good this year, at least the viewership, doesn't go down, because it's week 1. We don't know yet. And it's still America's team, quote unquote. So the Cowboys will always kind of like the Patriots with Tom Brady. They'll always get that special view, like the most primetime games, all that.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not like, it's not like last year when the NFL released the season openers and I was stoked. I couldn't wait. Obviously it's week 1, so I'm going to watch and I'm excited. But
yep.
Am I pumped for a Cowboys game? No,
not really. No.
But it feels like everyone loves shitting on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's like 80% of the people watching are just Cowboys cheers. Yum, yum, yum.
Cowboy just
people are just waiting to
yeah, and at the same time, like, what I can see why they went Cowboys in this one is Schottenheimer, first year head coach, right? Like, this is going to be his first game as a head coach. So just like how I didn't want the Bears to be the Eagles, first opponent to start the year, I don't think Cowboys fans wanted this for Schottenheimer. Like, again, Schottenheimer, nobody last year or over this past offseason even thought he was going to be a head coach. So then to put him into the Thursday Night Football spotlight against not only a division opponent, but the Super Bowl reigning champs, I feel like they're just like starting him off rough, like really, really rough.
I think the Eagles are going to start 2-3.
Ooh, I like that take.
I look at their first 5 games, and I also think when they went to the Super Bowl and lost, and then they came back the next year and they were nothing like of the same, but they lost their offense and defensive coordinators. They don't have Kellen Moore. And as much as like nobody's making a thing about it, I'm going to make a thing about it, because I think Kellen Moore is better than people think. I think he was more valuable to the Eagles than people know. And I think people have short-term amnesia when it comes to forgetting how much the Eagles struggled without that consistency. They've lost their coordinators now, 2 offensive coordinators. This will be their 3rd offensive coordinator in 3 years.
In a row.
This isn't like, oh, we're just going to pick up where we left off. There's going to be some growing pains. And you mix that in with games against the Tampa Bay Bucks, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Cowboys, and the Broncos to open the season. I don't think it's going to be like the Eagles are just 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. I think there's going to be some growing pains. And for the Eagles' sake, they can't make week 1 one of those games, because it gets way harder after week 1.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about nothing but playoff teams after that. Nothing but playoff teams after that. Broncos, Bucks, Chiefs, Rams, Cowboys. Like, it has to be, they have to start 1-0, because like you said, it is 4 straight weeks of playoff teams from last year. And a lot of these teams somewhat improving too over the offseason. Now, I know you had said expectations for the Broncos are division winners. Now, I was looking at the CBS top game for every week of the regular season, right? Obviously, week 1 is Cowboys, Eagles. Week 2 is Chiefs, Eagles. But I want to go all the way to week 18. And this is from CBS Sports. Tyler Sullivan is calling this. Now, he's saying week 18, the game to watch is the Chargers at the Broncos. The reason being, I'm gonna quote him here. The final week of the season is, of course, filled to the brim with solid matchups. I also believe the Chargers and Broncos matchup in Denver has the potential of being a win and in contest. Both of these teams made the playoffs, improved their rosters, and should be in the thick of contention. They still have the Chiefs favored to win the AFC West. So what do you think of that? I guess ranking of week 18 slate games, because again, you're saying Broncos need to win the division. They got to be in the conference championship, Super Bowl or bust next year. So what do you think about this win and get in week 18 between the Chargers and the Broncos?
I can see how they got to that point. I mean, anytime you have a division with Andy Reid, Sean Payton, and Jim Harbaugh, there's going to be a guy for every side, and they're going to justify their side, and there's really nothing you can say besides, yeah, it's really good points. We'll see.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Broncos winning this division, I could easily just say, okay, you got 3 really good teams. Okay, you got 3 really good coaches. All right, give me the team with the best defense. Who's that? Do the Chargers have a better defense than the Broncos? Do the Chiefs have a better defense than the Broncos? No. Okay. Well, if Denver's defense last year, they held them to 16 points. Can we hold them to less than that? 15, 14 points? And can Bo Nix in the offense, they don't even need to be better. Can they just do what they did last year once they started clicking? That right there, to me, separates this team from those 2 teams. The defense is not just like the best in the division. I think this could be the best in the league. I'm trying to think of like which defense will be better than the Broncos this year. And
the Chargers were really good last year too.
Yeah, they were, but
Chargers,
no defensive player of the year.
True.
You know?
I think the Ravens were pretty good. I forget exactly who the top defenses were, but yeah, I get your point. 100%.
And Denver drafting the best corner. Nobody saw that coming. Like they were like, oh, they're going to get a weapon for sure. And then they took Jahad Barron, who this guy's so versatile. At Texas, they had him playing on the outside, and it went so well. He was the best in the nation. And then they moved him to nickel to see how it would go his second year. Then he won the award for best defensive back in the nation. and it was like,
Sean said, give me that guy next to reigning defensive player of the year, Sir Dan the second.
And Vance Joseph's brother coached him.
Oh, so there's a connection. Yeah, there's a connection.
There's a connection, and he's like an awesome leader. Like when they lost in whatever the college football playoffs, and his team, like after the last question, everyone was leaving, and then he like went on like a quick 30-second speech about how proud he was of his players, how lucky and blessed he is to play this game in front of the fans. Like just like the way he carried himself is just like, I could see why a player like that, Denver was like, we can't let this guy go another pick. He has to be a Bronco.
So and I was going to say quick pivot from the schedule in this case, because the Broncos, you seem excited about Barron, right? Like at that point in the draft, which you live streamed, which was awesome. It was great. You were having a great conversation with everybody talking about the picks and stuff. At that point, I forget exactly what pick the Broncos had, but what were you expecting? Was there anybody on the board? You probably mentioned this during the stream, but I obviously wasn't there. Was there anybody else on the board that you were like, the Broncos should take this guy? And then they go
Luther
cornerback.
Burden.
Luther Burden. That I thought so. I thought you wanted the weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Luther Burden would be a great fit, but Denver's they've done their due diligence much more than I could. They interviewed these guys. I just watched their highlight tape.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I would have liked Luther Burden, but the thing about Jahade Barron was that I didn't do my homework on him. And much like the Bo Nix pick, I liked it much more the day after than the moment it happened.
Yeah.
But it also, you get to a place as a fan where they've earned your trust, and you really do. Like, Sean hasn't picked a bad draft pick yet. you know?
Yeah.
So for what it's worth, that makes it much easier than when you got a coach that's just Jerry Jones is fucking picking another terrible pick. You know what I mean?
Another guy named Tyler.
You're like, why does Jerry Jones keep picking the worst pick?
Oh.
What about the Bears pick?
With who Jerry got? He got a tackle or a guard. I think he got a guard, and it's like first round guards. I get it, Jerry. You want to protect Dak after the season-ending surgery he had, but like, holy shit! Like, everyone was expecting the weapons, and look, at the end of the day, they bring in George Pickens with CeeDee Lamb, and you've got you as a Cowboys fan. I'm sure you're looking at this and being like, all right, we got a solid number 1, number 2 wide receiver, and it's Dak Prescott somewhat has no excuses now. This offense has somewhat no excuses now in terms of needing production. But yeah, I get you, because I was going to go into Colston Loveland for the Bears.
Yeah, over Tyler Warren.
Over Tyler Warren. Now, I just wanted to talk about this real quick, and then we could kind of go on with the rest of our topics for the night. But over Tyler Warren, Poles, and this kind of goes into what you said with the trust thing, right? Like, Poles has had decent drafts, and he's had some decent moves. He's had some flops. Let's not forget the flops. But this one, he said he watched them last year when he had JJ McCarthy as quarterback, when Michigan actually had a quarterback that could pass the ball. He said he liked what he could do. He liked what he did during the run game. He liked how physical he was, and they thought that he was a better option than Tyler Warren. I listened to a ton of NFL analysts, either on podcasts or on YouTube or on CBS, NFL, whatever. And a lot of these guys did have Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren, which to me was surprising, because I thought Tyler Warren was the best tight end in the class.
Just
and then
raw
it was
talent.
Just raw talent.
Loveland was more of a pure tight end. Like, he could do everything.
Exactly. And we got Richard in the chat. Loveland is a beast. Boom. Didn't have a quarterback last year. Exactly, Richard. And that's what Poles is kind of talking about. And that's what these analysts are saying. Like, a lot of these guys, one of them that goes to CHGO and is talked on the DNVR podcast as well, has said that he's like, yo, you know what? I actually had Colston Loveland over Tyler Warren. And that makes me feel a little bit better. But the thing that I think overall, and you remember this from a live stream that we did, I was like, the Bears have to go either trenches in the defense or on the offense. Eventually they did that after picking Loveland and after picking Luther Burden. But I was just like, okay, you got Joe Thuney, you bring in the center from Atlanta, and you bring in the other guard from LA. Okay, I get that there was improvements on the line, but dude, like, I really did feel like they should have gone one trench or the other. And that was kind of my feeling. Like, don't get me wrong, I hope Colston Loveland and Ben Johnson, who uses 2 tight end sets very often, as you could see, sometimes in Detroit, uses them to his full potential. But it felt like a oof, we got a weapon. We can pick up a weapon. Let's fucking bring him to the offense. And I didn't love that they didn't go trenches.
It felt like upgrading the rims on your Cadillac when you need car insurance.
Yeah, because what happens when you crash the Cadillac? The rims look sick, but you can't fucking drive the thing after you crash it, right? So that's a perfect example, or perfect thing to say about that, because I really wanted them to go offensive tackle or whatever, or defensive tackle, defensive edge, whatever, and they didn't. They went offense, offensive line, and then defensive tackle. They did address both sides of the trenches, but not until the second and third rounds, which I thought was a little bit later. But I'm excited for Colston Loveland. From all accounts, everything I've read and seen and heard about him is that he is like how you said, more of a pure tight end. And I'm hoping it works out. I'm hoping him and Cole Kmet can just do this like Gronk, Aaron Hernandez, except without the murders type of thing.
I'm just going to say, I called it. Our last stream we did together,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Ben Johnson, he had TJ Hawkinson, then he had Sam Laporta.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this guy's going to go tight end in the first round.
Yeah.
Right when he did it, I was like, yes. But I was also like, whoa, okay.
Yeah. There was just talks about it, and I was like, no way.
But it's not like he was so much further down than Tyler Warren.
Yeah.
Tyler Warren's just like such a raw athlete that people are like, yeah, he needs some fine tuning, but yeah, he's just too talented to ignore. The athleticism is just off the charts. So, I mean, they're just different, but I don't feel like one was like, oh, we had him going in the second round.
Yeah, like so much better than the other.
Yeah, it was like, okay, one was going to go and the other one was going to go shortly after. It was always going to be that way. So
100%. 100%.
Okay, I was just going to fly through some NFL news here really quick. The biggest one, and PR 101 tells you if you got big news, never drop it on Friday evening unless you don't want people to know about it. And that's what the 49ers did on Friday evening when they paid Brock Purdy. The amounts, Mike Florio, he's a lawyer and he like works for Pro Football Talk or whatever. He was talking about the numbers. It's actually $47 million a year. The incentives can boost it to 51 for Brock Purdy.
Okay.
But he's around the 8th, 7th highest paid quarterback right now. What is your immediate takeaway to Brock Purdy getting that kind of a deal? Because like to be the last pick in the draft, this is like unheard of for a Mr. Unlimited to be signing $50 million a year contracts.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a win for him. It's also not record-setting money, which I don't know if it tells you something. I think we all are thinking the same thing, and there's no reason to argue about it. We know Brock Purdy's good. We also know that he's benefiting from Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's not one or the other, It's like he went to a Super Bowl. He played his ass off in it. He went toe-to-toe with Mahomes. The game went into overtime. I don't feel like Brock Purdy's a bust. I just feel like he's not your 2025 typical quarterback that gets this kind of money. When I watch Bo Nix play, I see him running around, throwing the ball. Like he's doing a lot of this stuff. Like that guy's going to get paid. Brock Purdy, the way he looks, he's kind of scrawny. He's not like going to run you over. He's going to go out of bounds. He just doesn't scream like invaluable. You just have to pay this guy. But yet, he kind of deserves some respect put on his name because he is that good. I mean, when he is like in the zone, he is amazing. That it's just confusing because last year the 49ers lost a bunch of pieces and he didn't necessarily pick up the slack.
Yeah.
He didn't compensate, which, football is always, what have you done for me lately? And lately, Brock Purdy didn't make his team better when his team got worse. And that's what you pay this kind of money for. So I think there's a little bit of a two sides of this thing going on.
Yeah, I felt like this move, and you're not going to agree with this, is similar to what happened with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had a near MVP season 2 seasons ago.
The Jags are going to be good this year.
And I will agree with that. I think they are going to be improved much better than last year. The thing is, Trevor Lawrence, all right, settle down, Pete Prisco. I think Trevor Lawrence, and I'm actually gonna put him with Brock Purdy with 2 of these quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence and Tua Tagovailoa. What did we say when they both got, signed to their mega deals? And this is that Brock Purdy's behind these guys, right? The other guys he's behind is Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, as well as Lawrence and Tua. But with Tua and Trevor, honestly, like, what else could they have done? This is, I think, similar to what the 49ers did, but at least the only difference that Brock Purdy has between those other guys is that he's made it to a conference championship and he's made it to a Super Bowl. And I think, just one. Shanahan has made it to multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah, he got injured his first year.
And then last year when they lost to the Chiefs. Yeah. So honestly, if I'm being like real right now, I think Brock Purdy deserves this more than Tua and Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, again, has had a really good year. 1 out of the 4 so far. But Brock Purdy has been to a Super Bowl and multiple conference championships in his rookie contract. So honestly, he's more deserving of those 2 guys, if I'm being honest. Now, this is also similar to when those 2 guys got paid. Is like, well, what are the 49ers going to do? They're definitely not going to get a quarterback in this draft that is going to make an impact as much as Brock Purdy has. And while I agree with what you're saying, that Brock Purdy did not make the 49ers better last season when his team clearly got worse and was dealing with injuries, he wasn't like the guy where he's like, yeah, I'm going to pass it to fucking Jordan Mason and I'm going to run it on my own and do all these things on my own to get my team in a winning position and win the division again. I totally agree with that.
But what if it's just Christian McCaffrey?
And just like you said, he benefits from Shanahan. I think the McCaffrey thing absolutely also helps him out. He got injured too. And luckily, like, they're all the running backs behind them are really good. But honestly, dude, I think Brock Purdy deserved this for what he's done in his 3-4 years as a quarterback for the 49ers. He's the reason the 49ers aren't getting shit on for what's his face quarterback that they picked number 2 and number 3 overall. He's the reason that the 49ers not getting shit on for Trey Lance. So in my eyes, I think he deserved the payday. And I think a lot of people were expecting the payday as well. And I think he deserves it more than a couple of the people that I mentioned, Tua and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I do too. When Tua got paid, there was this guy on ESPN. I remember watching it, and he was like, "Everybody's like, don't pay him. Everybody's looking for the next Mahomes. There isn't another. There's only one Mahomes. Okay, and he plays for the Chiefs.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I when I heard it, I loved the take. I thought it was so true. It's like, yeah, like, you just be happy with what you got. If what you got gives you a chance, you feel like you got a real chance. The question though is like, why do Dolphin fans feel like they have a chance to go to a Super Bowl with Tua? What is he proven to make you think that? Brock Purdy, we've seen him in a Super Bowl, and we've seen him play in a Super Bowl well enough to win the game. So that checks a major box that none of these other quarterbacks check. And I think so often, like, there's teams that are like, well, what are we going to do if we don't pay him? We don't really have a better plan. And it's like, sometimes that's better than not paying him. I mean, better than paying him. Like, sometimes it's better to, I don't know, ditch the Russell Wilson contract and go into the draft eating $85 million and not knowing what's next. Because look where we're at 2 years later. And I think so often the Dak Prescotts of the NFL, the Tuas, the slightly above mediocre but not good enough to win you a Super Bowl quarterbacks get paid a bunch of money, and the front office of these teams are like, what were we going to do, let him walk? And it's like, Tua, sure, fuck it, let him walk. I mean, how much money does he want? Yeah, let him walk. I mean,
but like, what would the Dolphins have done at that point, though?
But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can't be so afraid of that you make a 5-year decision that you're going to now have to orchestrate your entire team around.
Well, so let's look at it this way too, because you bring up Tua and he was paired with Mike McDaniel, and you also have Purdy, who's paired with Shanahan, two coaches that have had success in terms of like regular season, somewhat postseason, obviously excluding Mike McDaniel. But when you think of these two pairings, you think like they both need each other because they both have been successful only with each other. Mike McDaniel and Tua Tagovailoa have been successful only with each other. Tua had a rough couple first seasons
Kyle
with
Shanahan, not so much though.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, you're right, but he definitely was like he wasn't going to do it with Trey Lance. He wasn't going to do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. Wasn't going to do it with whoever. Not until
They
Brock Purdy
won the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. They were up pretty good. They were up big in that.
And then it's like he melts down. He melts down. It's the Shanahan thing for him, at least. So I guess at that point, I'm just kind of wondering, like, are those two?
Are they like codependent?
Yeah, is basically what I'm saying. Like, are they codependent? Is that what those front offices thought?
Yeah,
when you're signing your Purdy.
Right when Sean lost Drew Brees, he retired. It was like, I don't want to do this. And a year later, he joins a team with Russ, and he's like, I don't want to do this with. I want to pick my. So there is like.
Yeah.
He's my quarterback. Like, I hand selected him. I can deal with it's like your own kid. Like, I can hear my kid cry. I don't want to hear your kid cry.
Yeah.
You know, we can handle, our own decisions. We just don't like to have to deal with other people's. And you're right about that. I just don't think we have to get away from being like paralyzed by our fear in doing the default option, which is give this guy the bag. Because I'm waiting to be proved wrong, but I see only two paths to the Super Bowl. A, you pay a top 5 quarterback, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, not in that order, Lamar Jackson, not in that order. You pay one of those quarterbacks, or you get a Brock Purdy in a rookie window. I think Bo Nix is in one of these right now. Caleb Williams and the Bears are in this window right now. Jaden Daniels is in this right now. You get these young quarterbacks that come in and you load up, and once it's time to pay that quarterback, that is gone. And the only hope is that he's turned from that rookie quarterback to the Mahomes quarterback.
Yeah.
Because that's the only other way that you're getting to a Super Bowl. We know that overpaying for a Dak Prescott doesn't get you to a Super Bowl. So if you don't feel like at the end of that 4-year window, that rookie quarterback has turned into a top 5, top 6 quarterback, am I crazy to say let a top 11 quarterback walk potentially?
it is all dependent on what the team is doing at the time too, because
Of course, and the
you,
players you have already and how much money they cost.
yeah, because like, do you have other playmakers in terms of wide receivers, tight ends, running backs that are also on their rookie deals somewhat and making a big impact enough to where you can justify paying a Brock Purdy, paying a Tua Tagovailoa, paying a Trevor Lawrence, right? Those types of guys. Now, I wanted to go back to a point you said really quickly before we move on. I love the point that you made. Did Brock Purdy last year make the team better? And the obvious conclusion is no, because this is the reason that you pay guys like Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, because Josh Allen loses Stephon Diggs, loses Gabe Davis, and still makes a deep postseason run. Lamar Jackson has another MVP-like season. Patrick
Tyreek
Mahomes
Hill with Mahomes.
Yeah, and Mahomes loses Tyreek Hill, and it seems like it's over. He obviously still has an aging Kelsey, but it's like he's still won another Super Bowl. He's won 3 already, right? So I like the point. It's just I feel like Brock Purdy kind of falls in the middle there, because we talk about the Super Bowl he's been to, we talk about the conference championships he's been to, and like these other guys that he's behind, again, I mentioned Tua and Trevor Lawrence, have not done that, and they still are getting paid more than him, or at least tied with whatever it is. So I like that point you made. I just don't know if this is necessarily do you drop a top 11 quarterback? I just think it's like, hey, he is definitely proven enough to warrant this contract. And like you said, it's not market breaking money, but I think it is appropriate for what he's done.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said that really well. Another extension, Fred Warner becomes the top paid linebacker.
Yeah.
At $21 million a year. Mike Vrabel for the Patriots bringing a culture shift. I actually mentioned there was some mention of the New England Patriots being that team, that spark team this year, that team that goes from nobody knows to a potentially a double-digit team. You got Drake May. And Drake May looked really good. You bring in consistency with Mike Vrabel. You draft a star left tackle. Of course, Braves would do that. And then you get this type of leadership, the no-nonsense type of coach coming into the locker room. And the very first episode, Forged in Foxborough, which is being produced by the team, this is what Mike Vrabel said. Why the fuck would I care about what happened last year? I'm worried about what's going to go right today and tomorrow and the next day. We're not worried about what went wrong. We're focused on what's going to go right. They overhauled the roster. They shelled out a ton of money to the defense, bringing in a lot of necessary improvements. They outbidded everybody for Milton Williams. They signed Carlton Davis. They added Harold Landry, Robert Spillane on the defense. They also signed Morgan Moses and Garrett Bradbury to upgrade the offensive line. I mentioned Will Campbell already. Of course, Stephon Diggs, a team-friendly contract. This is a team that, and this is what's weird about the offseason, is they all look really good on paper.
This is our AFC South portion of the season where we're just like, dude, Vrabel might win the East. Vrabel and this Drake May guy and Stephon Diggs on a team-friendly deal, they might win the East over the Bills.
I think they should at least double their win total last year. I think they're an 8-win team minimum. Yeah,
I could see that with the strides that Drake May made. And also, I want to credit the Patriots organization on not taking the bait with Will Campbell and his arm length. And you need at least 34-inch arms to be a star left tackle or something. I want to give them credit, because if Will Campbell turns out to be this amazing left tackle, then like everyone needs to shut the fuck up about this arm length issue, right? So I want to give them credit, and Vrabel, I want to give him credit because that's how every coach should kind of go forward with the season. It's like, I don't give a shit about last season, something we can't change. All I care about is moving forward with the team we have and what we have to do in order to get to the playoffs. So I credit to them. Is it time? Is it time for the motherfucking
Welcome to the Chives with Kyle. Oh, I got 2 chives today, not
Woo!
1, but 2.
But 2.
And that's why I had to cut right into it. So the first one, I gotta ask you. The whole world talked about it.
Yep.
There is such thing as political fatigue when elections are rolling around. Well, this was Deion Sanders fatigue. This is how tired we all got of hearing about Shedeur Sanders. So much so that it took a week, and I'm ready to ask you about it because he signed his rookie contract today. Now, I'll give you my opinion on the whole thing. I thought Shedeur Sanders should have been drafted to the New Orleans Saints in the first round.
Okay.
I felt that he I might be the only one that's high on him. I mean, we talked about this weeks ago, and I mentioned his Colorado State game where he went on the 90-yard drive and had to get a 2-point conversion to tie the game, and then overtime won it. It was like, that's when I was like, yeah, this guy's got it. Like to just not be shaken in that moment, to remain calm. They talk about his arm strength, but mostly they didn't like the character stuff. Now, there's 2 sides to the character thing. One thing is just old white people that don't like his chains, right?
It's so funny to me.
That is totally irrelevant. So throw that away.
Yeah.
This other thing where you walk into the room, maybe not showing the most humility. And think about it. I had a friend like this. His name was Fritz. His grandfather was the governor of Kentucky. His mom was a heart surgeon. His dad was a famous artist. He always had a Range Rover, beat the shit out of it.
Yeah.
When you look at Shedeur Sanders, like, he's always streaming on Twitch, and you look at like the house that he's in, like a bowling alley in the basement.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different type of life. It's not the life of a usual person. All right. So it doesn't create, I'm sure, the usual person. Like, I'm sure when he walks into a room, and this is also with the college money being dished out to these kids, a lot of these older guys are used to these rookies coming in, and they're like, I will do anything you need. I will, because they're just trying to get paid so they can, put their family, take care of their family. And it's like, it's survival. Shedeur Sanders is like walking into the room like, I got some leverage. I don't need you. Like, you need me. And I think that there's like a healthy amount of that. And then there could also, like anything in life, there can be a toxic amount of ego. You always want to balance the ego with humility. You can't just only be humble. You need to have some ego. That's kind of the fire that's needed. So I think, and it's weird because since the draft, it does seem like Shedeur has like dialed a lot of that back, and potentially he's even learned a lesson. I'm sure. Well, this whole experience would be humbling in nature, so that might be the humility that he needed.
Oh yeah.
So when you see him dropping in the draft, like, what did you make of the whole thing? What did you think? I know that you had questions on whether he was going to be good or not, so that kind of lines up with him not being a first round pick. And then the second thing is like the third thing. Next year's draft is loaded. Nobody wants to draft Josh Rosen just to turn around and draft Kyler Murray a year later. Nobody wants to be that team that drafts a quarterback in the first round and then does it again next year. So if you know that Arch Manning and the court, there's so many quarterbacks that are going to be like similar to the Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels draft. That's coming again next year. I think there's maybe not a bunch of teams, but there was only like 2 or 3 teams that needed a quarterback. And yeah, I think it's possible that out of those 2 or 3 teams, 1 or 2 of them is looking for next year to solve that problem.
Yeah. Initially with the whole Shedeur Sanders thing, I was a little shocked where it was like first round. Okay. I guess it's over. Day 2, second and third round. You're like, oh shit. And then you get into what was he drafted in the 5th round or something like that? And then you're like, wow, what a fall from great. 3-4 other quarterbacks were taken before him. And we're talking about guys that aren't going to start, and he may or may not start. But to get back to your, the original question, I was a little shocked at the start, and I was like, wow, I thought maybe the Saints were going to take him, right? Like later on, like in the top 10 or whatever. And then they didn't take him. And I was like, okay, Steelers got to take him, right? Like they may get Aaron Rodgers, but they've got to take Shedeur just as, the rookie backup. And then they didn't. So there was definitely like a shock portion of it to me.
I thought the Rams later
or maybe
in the draft.
Yeah, could you? I mean, Shedeur in LA would just kind of the way he carries himself, the family that he comes from. I feel like there could have been a good pairing there in LA, but it was definitely an initial shock. And then I think back and I'm like, his number was retired at Colorado. What? That's the dumbest thing ever. You know what I mean? Like regardless of how his career goes, dumb.
Why? He broke all the records.
He didn't win shit at Colorado. He had 2 subpar seasons in terms of record.
He broke all the records. And I was telling someone this the other day. They were like, remember that Shedeur Sanders had his jersey retired before Tim Tebow had his Florida jersey retired. And I said, okay, 2 things. 1, Tim Tebow should have his jersey retired. Like, period. It should have happened 10 years ago. Number 2, retiring a jersey, you don't compare colleges like that. It's relative to that specific college. Like, so what Shedeur Sanders did in Colorado, maybe they didn't go to a playoff game and win, but did he break all the records that, were standing in Colorado? So like relative to that program, and that's important because you're talking about the type of talent that comes, the kind of teams that you are having to play with. It's not like it's, Alabama and you got your jersey retired and you didn't even make the playoffs. It's like the expectations are so low because of the kind of talent you have. But I hear what you're saying. Like it does seem like what?
I just don't like Tim Tebow was the greatest college quarterback of all time, regardless of I don't think any opinion is that
greatest Broncos quarterback ever.
Great.
And I met him 3 times.
And Kyle has won Super Bowls without Tim Tebow, but he's the best quarterback. KC in the chat, by the way. What's up, KC?
Dude, you want to know something crazy? When he played the game against the Steelers in the playoffs, he wore John 3:16 on his eye black.
Yeah.
If you heard this, and he averaged 31.6 yards per reception. He threw for 316 yards. The average time of possession or the half was like 31 minutes and 6. It's like all 316 like down the box score.
Wow. For the whole game, 31 minutes. That's crazy.
Dude, it is like
that's
wild.
Just like it's surreal how those number things happen.
So magic. Like it was so fun. That was the funnest year probably of ever being a Broncos fan, arguably.
Oh, I bet. But like How does Tebow not get his jersey retired, but Deion Sanders does? I get the record-breaking thing. I do get that. But college players at their respective colleges break records all the time. That doesn't mean they're getting their jerseys retired. I just don't think Shedeur Sanders should have happened, because his impact in terms of what he did for the college with Deion Sanders, sure, I think it was more of a pairing thing. If Deion Sanders runs the head coach, I don't think he gets his jersey retired at Colorado. Let's be real. But I just don't think his impact in terms of a college player has been anywhere near Tebow, Cam, Jameis, Joe Burrow's one and only great season in LSU, Matt Leinart, Vince Young, even non-QBs, Reggie Bush. Like, these are the type of guys that should have their numbers retired. Caleb Williams had his jersey retired, and he never went to a national championship. He had a terrible last year with USC. I don't know if that should have happened either, but apparently they thought it was good enough. I just don't think that Shedeur Sanders, with recency bias, regarding Caleb Williams, I don't think those two jersey numbers should be retired in the same way that they were. I don't know. That's just me. Regardless of how his career goes in the NFL, I just don't think it should have happened.
Okay, so you're a hater.
I will say, the way that this sounds is hater. So yeah, if that means I'm a hater, fuck it. I'm a hater. I don't give a shit. I just don't think that should happen, because the impact was nowhere near as important as a ton of other players, and as well as his dad being the head coach. That's just me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But now that we talked about that, I have to show you this.
Oh God.
Performance Sunday, and Denver's upset win over Pittsburgh sent people flocking to the
I hear
air.
it.
The game made John 316 the most searched item on Google.
After the game, when we were done celebrating, I changed really quick, and I was going down the hall to do my press conference, and our PR guy steps in front of me. He says, "Timmy, did you realize what happened?" I could tell he was being serious. So I was like,
Oh no.
"What's up, man?" "Timmy, this is exactly 3 years from the time you put John 3:16 into your eyes." I was like, "Oh, really? That's awesome. That's really cool." He says, "No, you don't realize. During the game, you threw for 316 yards. Your yards per rush were 3.16. Your yards per completion were 31.6. The time of possession was 31.06. And the ratings for the night were 31.6. And during the game, 90 million people Google John 3:16, and it's the number one thing on all social media right now."
That's so funny. The way he delivers that is so dramatic. No, you don't get it, Tim. You wore John 3:16 that night. I'm not here to make fun of religions either. I'm just making fun of the video too. But yeah, I get that's funny.
Gosh, it is. I love all of the people that post that go, "Is this a coincidence, an anomaly?" I'm like, you decide.
Yeah. It's up to the outer realm of human beings to decide that. You know what I mean? It is not a. We can call it a coincidence. We can call it a religious thing. I'm just gonna let.
Fun.
It's definitely sick as fuck, because when you look at the numbers and you're like, are you kidding me? That's crazy. That is crazy how that happens.
There's this guy, that actor Terrence Howard.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this thing about numbers, where God is numbers, God speaks through numbers, and it's in the chords, in the tune of G. It's so wild, but he actually delivers it really well. But he explains it to Bill Maher in an episode of Club Random. The dude is wickedly smart.
A lot of actors are very, very well versed, educated too.
But he's even more so on a different playing field. He's he's have you ever looked up the double slit experiment?
Yeah, something about it's one slit in one wall and one slit in the other, and it's how they hit the wall depending on
So like
yeah.
they took an atom gun and they shot through it. Basically, you have two slits, so two
Mhm.
openings, and then you put a piece of paper behind it. So if you
Mhm.
shot an atom gun, the atoms should go through the two openings and they should appear on the white piece of paper perfectly behind them,
Similar to the slits, yeah.
similar to the slits. And then, but the weird thing was they were behaving like waves. They were going in a wavelength like pattern,
Mhm.
and they weren't behaving like particles. They were behaving like waves. So they got curious and said, why? So they put a camera on and they were like, we'll fire one atom at a time. And every time one atom hits the back of this paper, it'll, make a beep sound and we'll know,
Mhm.
okay, the atom has arrived on the back. So they're doing the experiment. And as they're recording it, sure enough, the atoms behave like particles.
Mhm.
They don't do the
Yeah.
the
Yep.
wave-like behavior. So then they go, okay, we're gonna unplug the camera
Mhm.
and we're gonna see what happens. So they unplug the camera and they run the experiment again, and they behave like waves.
Like waves, yeah.
So they plug the camera back in, and they're like, maybe we could trick the atoms.
Yeah.
And here they are talking to the atoms. They plug the camera and they're like, okay, we're gonna be testing you. Here we go. We're gonna start it. And they unplug it again, and it behaves just like waves.
Yeah.
So I when I first saw that, I mean, to me, I was like, I felt like what that told me, and whoever does come up with the reasons behind this, there's a Nobel Prize waiting for them. I think that what it is that atoms are consciousness. I
Mhm.
think that we are made up of consciousness, that it's not just in our mind, it's in our fingers, it's in our
Mhm.
entire being. And I feel like what that experiment shows us is that atoms are conscious and we are fully conscious, like in our atomic, DNA.
Centers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like we are like moving and breathing consciousness. We are not just,
Mhm.
up here we're conscious like a computer. I think it's all of our being, but I don't know why I'm in this rabbit hole right now. But
No, I get it, because I was like, when I heard about that experiment, I was like, the atoms know when they're being recorded and when they're, it's like it's legitimate scientists who said a hypothesis, who did the experiment and changed it up in the middle of it, and you're just like, how did that happen? And
yeah,
so it's crazy, dude. It's
I
crazy.
showed it to my family too, and I could tell like who was getting it just because like when I felt like when you get it, it like raises your hair.
Yeah,
It's like hair
makes you think.
raising, like I'm grappling with this.
Mm-hmm.
And and I would show it to my sister and she'd be like, cool. And I didn't realize like through the Navy how much of that language was like taught in what we do. Where now like I can listen to these type of lectures on like even like basic quantum mechanics. It's all the things that we don't know. But so much of that language, wavelengths, the stuff that we just like before I joined the Navy, I wasn't really like sure about like what that stuff is. And then being in my profession as an electronic warfare operator, it was like I'm studying, radar and how RF energy goes out and bounce, refraction, diffract, all of these like words that are like our job doesn't necessarily translate, but like you can listen to a lecture now and kind of keep up with it, where
Yeah.
10 years ago I would have been lost in the sauce completely.
I would have been like, what the fuck am I listening to?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. And it's
Yeah.
so interesting when you're able to keep up with it. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can see why people dedicate their life to this. This
It's
is
interesting.
very interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that there is a lot of weird stuff going on in the universe. The Tim Tebow thing, probably like a 1 in a trillion chance of that happening.
Yeah,
You know?
like it's tough to see that happening again. It's like, oh, let me put these random numbers on my iBlack, and then it's like, oh, you held the ball for 31 minutes 6 seconds,
I
31.6, blah 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 blah.
I even commented on it, and I was like, the true miracle is averaging 31.6 yards per reception. That's pretty remarkable.
Just the pure nonsense of that is like you get a first down on every throw.
And if Demaryius Thomas doesn't score the 80-yard touchdown to win in overtime, all the numbers are flawed.
Yeah, everything goes.
That's what's crazy.
Kaput. Yeah.
But that is what we have for you guys today.
I think you had one more chives.
I do. I was hoping you'd bring it up.
Okay.
So my last chives, there was an article written about the least most vulnerable NFL divisions. These are the division winners of last year. Who's most vulnerable to lose that position on
that's
the
a good
throne?
question.
Number 1, the Detroit Lions. And this is why I was going to bring this up to you. The NFC North came down to the final game of the regular season last year. There's no reason to think the division, which just sent 3 teams to the playoffs, won't be as ferocious in 2025, particularly with the anticipated improvement of the Bears, who are coming off a last place finish. The Vikings making a switch at quarterback. But how do you bet against Kevin O'Connell making the right choices and having J.J. McCarthy ready? Especially after Minnesota did so much to fortify the interior of the offensive line, the team's biggest weakness last year. The Packers gave Jordan Love a first-round wide receiver, and the Bears have done everything possible to make life better for Caleb Williams, from hiring Ben Johnson to overhauling the interior O-line to spending their first 2 picks on Loveland and Burden. All of that makes for a whole lot of competition for the Lions, who are still flush with talent, but must adjust to 2 new coordinators after Johnson and Aaron Glenn both got head coaching jobs. Even if that process turns out to be seamless, it's easy to envision the division again coming down to the final week. I agree with this, and I think the Lions are going to struggle a little bit this year. I think when you lose, I think it's going to be very similar to the Eagles. Actually, give me the same record that the Eagles had the year after their Super Bowl. I believe they were 9-8, lost in the first round, the wild card, to the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Yes.
I'll take Detroit 9-8, losing in the first round to the Bucks.
Wow. I can agree with that. So they're saying basically that the Lions are the most vulnerable to lose the division after winning it last year. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. I agree with that. What I do think is that the Rams are actually more likely to not win the division again after Seattle got better by bringing in Darnold. Letting go of Geno Smith, bringing in Darnold. Yes, they got rid of DK Metcalf, but I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to really step it up to that number 1 wide receiver. But if I was to say which is more vulnerable, I do think that Detroit is slightly more vulnerable because of losing their 2 coordinators, Ben Johnson really kind of being the main one. But also, I'm also leaning towards the Rams more, because what did Detroit do when their defense was basically injured? Is they still went and win the division, and they dominated Minnesota in that last week, or that basically playoff game in week 18. So this is a tough one, and it might be a toss up, because I think Atlanta is going to threaten Tampa Bay, but it's tough to bet against Tampa Bay. I think Rams and Detroit are both 2 teams that are the most vulnerable when you look at the NFC.
I think the Ravens are my second team. Don't forget the Steelers were 10-2, winning this division by week 13.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers joining the team, I think he makes him better. I do. I think the Jets thing didn't work out, but I don't think it was ever the Jets. No, I don't
Yeah,
think he was going to do well with the Jets.
Uh-huh.
I felt like at the time it was going to be a grand slam, but I was reminded that the Jets have deeper problems. The Steelers have always
Yeah.
had, very functional staff. Maybe the players are a little wild, but Mike Tomlin's about as stable as you can get. And I feel like if there was a team that could kind of, I guess, take a quarterback like Rodgers and make it work, it would be the team that had success with Kenny Pickett, Justin Fields, and Russell Wilson splitting reps,
2 different years and still made the playoffs with
But
those
more
3
importantly,
quarterbacks.
yeah, but more importantly, I think it's Joe Burrow and the Bengals division. That's why.
Okay, I like that.
Cincinnati, and I mean, I think Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the NFL right now. And it's a shame how last season went for Bengals fans because Joe Burrow could never have a season that good again. I mean, he was amazing. I saw him live, and something's different when you see him in real life. Like I don't know if I saw Aaron Rodgers in his MVP season prime, and I saw him throw the ball with his on the sideline, 50 yard, and I was just like, whoa, that looks like. And I was like, I've never seen anything like that. And then I saw Joe Burrow play, and I'm like, oh my God, it looks like, like nothing. I've gone to all these other games, but he's so much better, dude. Like he's so good at football. And I just don't see a way that he doesn't have this team in first place.
I can see that.
The other thing too is this division beats each other up every year. And I think it's always a safe bet to say whoever won it last year is not winning it the year after or the year before. It's just they're going to take turns, but I just don't feel like the Ravens are just going to kind of dominate this division. I think this is too talented of a division. And then I would have the Eagles in third because I think losing their coordinator and then the Commanders adding weapons, I think this is the Commanders division.
Oh,
yeah.
You're saying they're going to dethrone the Super Bowl champs in the division. Okay.
A lot of dethroning happening this year with, I got the Lions not winning. I got the Ravens not winning, the Eagles not winning, and the Chiefs not winning. I actually got the Texans not winning. I think Jacksonville will win it. I think
that was one I was going to talk about too. I don't know if the Texans are necessarily like a lock for the AFC South either, with Jacksonville getting a little bit better, Tennessee obviously drafting Cam Ward, and the Colts being the Colts. Yeah, they brought in Tyler Warren. Yeah, but is what's his face going to be?
Danny Dimes.
Yeah, yeah. Like who's the quarterback there? If
somebody posted a picture of Anthony Richardson.
And real quick before we leave, I wanted to touch on one thing because Kyle made a short about this. Kyle made a short about this, and I want to touch on it real quick before we get out of here. The whole Caleb Williams thing about not wanting to go to the Bears.
Oh yeah, Shane's book that he wrote.
Yes, Shane Wickersham. Yes.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with what he said about Eberflus and about Shane Waldron. Because really, So that was the only. So there was about 2 or 3 quotes from Caleb that actually made the book. Everything else was from his dad and from his camp. When it came to the trying to surpass the NFL draft, not play for the Bears, go to the United Football League, so on and so forth. The 3 things that were reported, legitimately said by Caleb Williams was, I don't know if I could do it with Shane Waldron. O'Connell with the Vikings seems like a great coach, and I want to be a Viking and I want to play with him because what did I say during the offseason, Kyle? You asked me, you're like, would you rather have Kevin O'Connell or would you rather have Ben Johnson? And I was like, well, give me Kevin O'Connell because he's proven that he's a good head coach and knows what he's doing. So nothing wrong with that. And the third thing was after he met with Poles and Cunningham and whoever else, Bears brass, he said, you know what? I can do this, and I don't want to nuke the city in my first year and say I don't want to play for the Bears and then just kind of go down that road. But after talking with polls and stuff, I can do it. So honestly, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of the talk about from his dad and from his camp was similar to what we were talking about. The talking points prior to him being drafted was he wants a stake in the team. He wants $1 billion. He wants this. He wants to go to this team. There was a lot of talking points that came from his camp when really only 3 quotes from that article came from Caleb Williams actually. So while I don't necessarily agree with what his dad and his camp were saying about surpassing the NFL, going to the United Football League, then coming in as a free agent and signing with whoever, Caleb Williams said the things that he couldn't do it with Shane Waldron, which means he has a very good sense of personnel and people. And then you look at what happened during the season where Shane Waldron wasn't even giving him video or tape to look over. He was doing it all on his own, and he still did really, really well. Yeah, there was a bunch of games there in a row where he didn't have a touchdown, and he only had 3,200, 3,300 pass yards, whatever the case may be. But all in all, not a bad season from Caleb. So I wanted to address that real quick because, Kyle, I know you had made that short, and I was like, you know what? I'd prefer to address this during one of our live streams than on just the comments.
Yeah, I just looked at the comments, and I'm getting mad.
Why?
Just people are so negative.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But we can have thick skin if we're going to do this, right?
Yeah, it's a fascinating story. I mean, you got a guy that's going to be the first overall pick that's weighing his option. And I didn't have enough time, but I wanted to add in, like, this isn't like John Elway didn't do this, like Eli Manning. Like, this happens. This does happen. And that's why I said Shane Waldron was fired after week 9, Eberflus week 12, because that he was right about the head coach and the offensive coordinator.
100%.
And the main thing is these type of stories normally don't get dropped. Like, these type of things happen all the time, but we don't hear about them typically. That's the difference, I think, about this. And that's why it was worth, I think, sharing.
Yeah, and there was always a leak. And then just for my last point, everything he's done in this Bears organization after the fact is kind of what I'm focusing on too. He's like the Bears, doing the bear down, getting excited when he was picked number 1 overall, doing the things he's doing. Like, there was one clip where he was against the Packers where he was yelling at Eberflus, let's go for it on 4th down. Let's go for it on 4th down. Finally, they go for it on 4th down, get the first down. So, like, there's positive things that you're seeing from Caleb Williams after all that came out where you're just like, you know what? He does want to be a Bear. He's here for, a long time, hopefully, and he's going to bring us a Super Bowl, hopefully one day. So I'm just kind of focused on all that, but I did like the short you made, and I was like, I got to address this on the stream. So
I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up and then I forgot about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But all right, guys. Well, thank you guys all so much for being here. KC, we had KC in here. We had Richard in here. We had a couple people from Twitch, and we had Chewy in here. Chewy's NFL Games and News. We appreciate you guys all being here. It is good to be back. Moving forward, streams are more than likely going to happen on Monday nights like they are tonight. With my work schedule, I'm working in the restaurant business again. So I am going to be pretty much, busy all afternoons and nights. But these streams will be happening Monday nights with Kyle and I, again, as long as we can make it due to our schedules. And then we're going to be doing as much as we possibly can in terms of shorts, other long form videos, and we're going to be doing other stuff. But when it comes to the season, you guys will see us here streaming our team's games and all of Sunday football. But thank you guys again for being here. We appreciate you guys being here. Go follow us on X at NFL with Kyle and at Only Football Pod. I am no longer on X, so go follow the Only Football Pod on X. And then hit that like button on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitch. Follow us on X. Hit all the likes. Share it. Tell a coworker. Tell a family member. Tell a friend. Tell a random person on the street about the Only Football Podcast. And as always, we love you, Bill.
Oh, and if you guys know any good stockbrokers, private message me.
Kyle's trying to get in them stocks. Kyle! Always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.